Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android, Spotify, or the Five Reasons YouTube channel. We recommend streaming us on Spotify. Apple Podcasts been a little slow of late. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server, $2.99 per month. You can find the link right here in the description. It'll get you right there. Get access to 10 different channels, our stage shows, which have come back, and lots more. Also, the host updates and a draft channel. Our guest today, he's on there constantly. So check it out. This is Off the Floor. Also, check out the great sponsors of the Five Reasons Sports Network, includes Prize Picks. Use the code 5FIVE. Put down your 5, you get 50 to play right away. Prize Picks, the official fantasy sponsor of the Five Reasons Sports Network. You can play in Florida. You can play between all the different sports, so MLB, NHL, and more, in addition to the NBA. And you can play up to 6 players together. So check it out, prizepicks.com. But here's the key. Use the code to get your $50, FIVE. And now, today's episode.
Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yeah, 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs, down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to Five on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Digital Adel. You can follow him at Digital Adel. And as I mentioned, you can find him on Off the Floor. Also, we will be on playback for the NBA Finals, which start on Thursday. Indiana at OKC. Not necessarily the finals everybody predicted, especially from the East side. Should be, I think, entertaining basketball. These are two of the fastest-paced teams in the NBA. They were the two fastest paced in the postseason. And, of course, they'll be covering the Lakers in Boston on ESPN from Cancun. But Indiana, OKC, for basketball fans, should be fun. Adele and I have been doing a draft series, getting into some of the themes, the players, everything else is coming up before the draft at the end of June. The Heat will be having a draft party at the arena. We will have coverage from the arena. I'll be telling you more about that as we go forward. But as June starts, start zeroing in on particular players. We've done a little bit of this already. But Greg Sylvander's reported way back in March that the Heat had their eyes on Walter Clayton Jr. Now, this was before he led Florida to the national championship. You and I have talked, Adele, about him before. But with some of these guards going back to school, which is another episode that we did, we recommend everybody listen to that. He may become more attractive at that spot to them at 20. And yet, I know you have some concerns about how much this would actually move the needle for the Heat. So let's talk about him. This is, I hate bringing up names like this, but it reminds me a little of Shabazz Napier. Helped lead a team to a national championship. Of course, the Heat drafted him in part because LeBron wanted them to. And they probably would have taken Clint Capella if not, actually, in that draft. And he reminds me of him because he won. He was the major factor in winning. But also there are some physical limitations that may cause him not to be at a star level in the pros. So let's get into those. What do you think of him?
Walter Clayton Jr. is a dynamic three-point shooter. I mean, all the advanced metrics are in his favor when it comes to college basketball, and you compare him to any of these other prospects, but also he has an advantage that he's 22 years old. So on draft night, he's going to be 22 years old. He's a senior, 6'2", 200 pounds. So he's, 199 pounds. So basically 200. Very sturdy, very fast in a straight line. His handles aren't spectacular. They're good enough for college. And his shot diet is really tough. Now, he's really good at it at the college level, especially at the college three-point range. I mean, he's got NBA range also, but I mean, on that tough shot diet, it's going to be tough. just some of the statistics coming in terms of his shot diet in college. He shot 42% on 45 threes in transition, 40% on 75 spot up threes, 39% on 23 threes off of screens, 36% on 14 threes in isolation, and 36% on 42 threes off of dribble handoffs, 45% on 102 threes as a pick and roll player. And this is before the tournament ended. With those stats, it was like partway through. So he's spectacular offensively when it comes to the shooting numbers. Now he's 6'2", but he's only got a he's 6'3" with shoes on. But he's only got a 6'4" wingspan. So he's not very good defensively. He's not really that great off the bounce. He's really good, like I said, in a straight line, and taking those tough shots. No matter which way you get them, I think he's going to be able to do that kind of stuff. And I've brought this up before. He reminds me a lot of Patty Mills from the Spurs days.
So, okay, so there's a follow on that, and this is not Patty Mills from the Heat days. Let's make that clear. From the Spurs days. To go back, do you remember what Tyler Hero's wingspan was coming out of the draft? Are you able to find that?
Yeah, I can grab it right now, but it was an inch shorter than whatever his listed height was.
Okay.
I'll tell you right now. Let's see.
Because you're saying Clayton's 6'4", basically.
Well, he's 6'2" without shoes, like 6'3" with shoes.
With shoes, okay.
Yeah. And Tyler was what, 2020, right? Or 2018.
Yeah. 2019, actually.
2019.
I'm just asking because as we start to talk about the Heat and whether there would be interest here, we have to talk about how the player is going to fit with their current best guard. And that's and you've been shaking your head on that because it seems like you've got two guys who don't have the wingspan or the defensive chops to be able to play together, correct?
That is correct. Tyler Hero was 6'4.5" with a 6'3" and a quarter wingspan, by the way.
Okay. All right. So basically we're talking about the same, although Tyler is actually shorter than his height. Okay, so to that end, if the Heat were looking at this player, they would be looking at him as a bench option, most likely, right?
Yeah, he'd be a bench option during this build. As long as Tyler's on the floor, I don't see them two playing together because point of attack defense was an Achilles heel of this team. It really drove Bam up a wall all season. I know a lot of people aren't going to talk about that when you talk about Bam's struggles, but him having to cover up for the lack of perimeter defense, it was a huge problem. So Davion would have to start that's assuming they retain him. If they don't retain him, you're in a world of hurt. Point of attack defense.
Well, you also have a tiny 3-man rotation in the backcourt if it's Hero, Davion, and I know Davion plays bigger than he is, but if it's going to be Hero, Davion, and Clayton Jr. Now we don't know first thing what's going to happen with Davion. The reports, by the way, we probably will do an episode on this separately. We've done a Davion episode before. We've done a couple, but now that the reports are starting to come out that, and I know Anthony Chang wrote a piece in the Herald that we could be looking at about $14 million a year. It's a little richer than I was anticipating, although he hasn't gotten that offer yet. So we'll see what the market is. And my feeling on Davion also is that other teams may look at him and think, okay, yes, he was a lottery pick, but also his progress was a product of the Heat system. And we know that a lot of those guys, it's like buyer beware at this point for other teams. Although, again, Davion was a first-round pick. Some of these other guys who haven't panned out other places were not first-round picks. So we don't know what's going to happen with Davion yet, except that the Heat are going to extend the qualifying offer, which is what we predicted as well. And then it's kind of where it goes from there. All right, on the other side of this, I want to get into why you think they're interested. Because this is not Greg's report's not the first time I've heard this. Okay, that they are interested in him. So we'll get to that in a second because I want to get your view on why they would possibly want him. Before we go forward, though, I do want to mention our friends over at Real Estate Shop. You can find it at Real Estate Shop with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. Ashley and Javier. Ashley. Amanda and Javier. My apologies. Amanda and Javier, married couple that knows what your family wants in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling in Broward County or even in Dade, they can help you out, help you find the best deal for your house. If you're selling, they have open houses here all the time. Or if you're looking to buy a house, they know the market better than anybody. So check them out at Real Estate Shop FL.com. That's Amanda and Javier. And we're at Fort Lauderdale Realtor, the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on IG. Okay, so why do you think the Heat would be interested, just based on what you know of this player? And like, this is a player we know more about than a lot of the other players in the draft, because obviously he was on the best team in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that he's a guy that has a true shooting percentage of 60% at 6'3", effective field goal percentage at 56, 3-point, like the sheer number of, like, to be able to shoot as high of a percentage as he shoots, like 40, almost 40%. He's projected to shoot 40% at the NBA level from three on that type of volume is just unbelievable. So like in college, he shot 8.5, almost 9 threes per game, and he still ended up being almost a 40% 3-point shooter. And it's not just like he shoots one way. He doesn't just shoot it off the bounce. He doesn't just shoot it coming off screens. He shoots it off dribble handoffs, getting in the lane in PNRs, V cutting back out. He can do a lot of different things to get that 3-point shot off. And it's one of the prettiest motions I've seen in a very long time in terms of quickness of release, compactness, and just his balance, how he pops on balance. So I think it has more to do with the shooting, the fact that he's a winner, and he can run an NBA offense. Now, he's not a great facilitator, and he doesn't have a great defensive IQ, falls asleep at times on defense, has decent athletic profile. But when we talk about guys that are going to be at the 20 spot, they're going to have to either settle for a guy or they're going to have to take, and what I mean by settle is you may have to pick a guy 5 spots sooner than you have him ranked on your board, for example.
Got it. But and a lot of that is, some of that is because some of the players have gone back to school, as you mentioned, particularly at the guard spot. So yeah, that's kind of what I expected you to say. Winner and a great shooter. Now, watching him in the national championship game, and I saw him in other games as well, but watching him in the national championship game, he made winning plays in that game. He did not shoot the ball well, but he helped them win the game. So I feel like that game, even though he was not as effective offensively as he's typically in, probably helped his status with a lot of teams, because he showed that he can impact the game in some other ways if he needs to. I'm just struggling, unless they're just like looking for a basketball player who can shoot, that like is a Heat culture type guy, at least in terms of, again, playing in a big time program that they respect. I'm just having a hard time finding the fit with this particular roster. Like Brady's talked a lot about, they desperately need shooting. There's no question. We don't know that Duncan's going to be back. He's in the last year of his contract, and he's got that partial guarantee, so he very well could be thrown into a trade. Now, if they get Durant, then obviously they've replaced some of that shooting in a significant way. But I don't know that Alec Burks is going to be back. He's expressed interest in coming back. But he could on a minimum. But if some other team decides, okay, we really need a shooter, give him more than the minimum, I can't really see the Heat going beyond that.
Right.
So I guess this is just about, again, finding shooting. So let me ask you this question: if you're looking for a shooter in this draft, we've talked about needing a playmaker, but if you're looking for a shooter, who would make more sense at 20 to you if Clayton's available?
So, I mean, if Clayton's there and you're looking for a guy that can do a little bit more than just shoot, though, like if they have better measurables, be able to fit in that backcourt, I'm really intrigued lately with Hugo Gonzalez. He plays for Real Madrid. The whole team is stacked with former NBA players, so he didn't really play a lot during the season. I tried to watch him, no lie, like 12 different games, and he played like 5 minutes per game, so it's very hard.
You're a psycho is all I got to say about that. That's it. Stalking Hugo Gonzalez.
I have been stalking him, man, trying to get some film. But my point is, he played in a playoff game. They played him for a whole half because they needed a spark. And I loved what I saw from him because he's super athletic. He can shoot. He's fluid mover, 6'6". He's one of these guys that the scouts that are on the ground at practices are going to have a better understanding than I would, because I haven't been able to see him that much. A Cedric Cowherd, for example, the darling of the NFL draft, people are just blown away that this kid played Division III basketball, worked his way up to Division I, played at Washington State for like 16 games and then got injured. But his shooting is unbelievable at 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. So someone like Cowherd, I think, would fit the Heat better. because he's an upgrade over your Highsmith, for example, on the offensive end.
All right, so to close this out, we know what Heat fans are like. And I can see it. They're getting this. And again, they have the 20th pick, which is Golden State's pick. They don't have their pick at 15. They could trade out at 20. They could trade up. I'm not expecting them to do that, but there are a lot of options that they could go as the board develops. But if Clayton's on the board, like we're at 18, like we know Heat fans are not going to want any of the guys I mean, if you can't find Hugo Gonzalez, they can't. Okay, so this is where we're headed, right? We're headed for you passed on what, but I also look. I mean, I'm using the Napier example. I guess Kemba Walker would be the counter to that because he had this incredible tournament and he turned into obviously an all-star player in the pros. But a lot of these guys who we see go deep in tournaments or even win championships, they get blown up and overrated a little bit by the fans in general. Correct? I mean, I'm trying to
100%.
think of others. I'm trying to think of others off the top of my head. It's not registering. Well, I don't know why I can just think of Connecticut guys, but it does seem like that it's like, okay, this guy. Oh, Mateen Cleaves is another one to go way back, right?
He's
In
like the
Michigan State.
all-time example of that because Mateen was even like he looked out of shape even in college. Like,
Oh yeah, no question. No, I mean he made Raymond Felton look svelte. Yes, no, I know, and that's, but that's the thing. I think Heat fans need to understand in general is that just because you saw a guy pop in college, I mean, they played to his talents at Florida, and that's what they should do to win a championship. And people are going to look back at that Duke roster in a few years and be like, how did they not win a title? But and Florida did. But again, you could have a product of just being a really good college player. I'm just trying to think beyond Patty Mills because you're going way back on this, and then we'll close this out. Is there anybody else like a 6'2" shooter who I know you hate comps, but I'm just saying, is
I
there
do
anybody
hate
else
comps.
who
I'll tell you
is
what the fans are doing, and
okay?
and I see this on Twitter, and it drives me nuts. Stephen Curry, right? Because of how
don't stop it.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it, and it's ridiculous. But that's what people are doing because he has a smaller wingspan. He's like 6'2", 6'3". He's a great shooter.
What about Trey?
No, he's completely different than Trae Young. So
right, Trey's an elite passer and was from the very beginning.
He's elite facilitator and an elite separator.
Right.
Because that's the difference
and a horrific
between
defender. Yes.
But that's the difference between Shabazz Napier and Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker was an elite separator.
Right. That's the big thing. You have to be able to get the shots off. That's the thing. Like, you be a great shooter. You got to be able to get the shots off. And it is one of the things that Tyler doesn't get enough credit for, that he has found ways, even with, not elite athleticism, to get shots off. And he does it basically with guile to a certain degree, and with technique and everything else he does to get in those positions. And we talk about him needing a screen and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of times he doesn't. He does it if he's going to get shots off. But watching Clayton, it looks like somebody who may need that help. And they don't have – the problem with the Heat is – they need shooting, but they also just don't have enough guys to bend the defense. And because of that, it's hard to see a guy who is strictly a shooter having a ton of success for them, especially if he's 6'2". People forget Duncan's tall.
Yes.
Like
very tall. Yes.
Tall. Like you can see it. Max, okay, Max was a 6'5", but solid, okay, like a physical player. This is a little bit different when you're talking about somebody who's 200 pounds. All right, Digital Adel, you can follow him there. Thank you. We'll do more of these profiles as we go forward. But this is a name. It's not just because we know the name. We've registered that there's Heat interest here. We've registered for a while, and I get it. I understand why. But like I said, they need a shooter. He's a winner. Those are two. But how he projects on a team that currently has tiny guards, I'm starting. I mean, we forgot they still have a Rozier on the roster too, so it's just how many small guards can you have? All right, appreciate it, Adele. Thank you for doing this. Check out our sponsors, real estate shop FL.com, and also Prize Picks. Use the code FIVE.